Welcome to Microchips Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: the Dow soars more than 560 points as markets bet the Fed is done with rate hikes. U.S. lawmakers urge export controls on a new chip design technology. University to get £225 million for UK's new supercomputer. Bullish fund tied to chip maker Nvidia is the top performing ETF so far this year. Dutch firms eye chips making in Vietnam amid China tensions. The Dow soars more than 560 points as markets bet the Fed is done with rate hikes. CNN. U.S. lawmakers urge export controls on a new chip design technology. Bloomberg. A group of U.S. lawmakers, led by Republican Senator Marco Rubio, is calling on the Biden administration to limit China's access to RISC-V technology, an open-source model used to design semiconductor chips. The lawmakers argue that RISC-V could enable China to develop its own semiconductor ecosystem without oversight from Washington. They are urging Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo to impose export controls on the technology and require U.S. firms to obtain a license before sharing it with China. The move comes as the U.S. has been trying to stifle China's semiconductor industry by tightening controls on chip exports. University to get £225 million for UK's new supercomputer. BBC. The UK government has awarded Bristol University a £225 million, $297 million, investment to create the country's most powerful supercomputer. Named Isambard AI, the machine will be 10 times more powerful than the UK's current fastest supercomputer. The artificial intelligence technology will be used for scientific discovery in fields such as robotics, big data, climate research, and drug discovery. It will host 5,000 state-of-the-art NVIDIA superchips and be capable of 200 quadrillion calculations per second. Hewlett-Packard Enterprise has been named as the supplier. Bullish fund tied to chip maker Nvidia is the top-performing ETF so far this year. The Globe and Mail. The Granite Shares 1.5x long Nvidia daily ETF has emerged as the best-performing ETF so far this year, as the frenzy around artificial intelligence attracts buyers. The ETF, which tracks 1.5 times the daily percentage change of Nvidia, has gained 328.5% year-to-date, while the stock has risen 190%. The Granite Shares 1.5x long Meta Daily ETF, another leveraged ETF, takes second place, with a gain of 272% year-to-date. Leveraged ETFs seek to amplify the returns of the underlying index or stock. Dutch firms eye chips making in Vietnam amid China tensions. Reuters. Dutch semiconductor companies and suppliers are planning to make manufacturing investments in Vietnam, according to officials. This comes as these firms aim to reduce their reliance on China as a hub for exports amid increasing trade tensions between Beijing and the West. The Netherlands' sales of the most advanced chips to China have been curbed as a result. During a business mission to Hanoi, B Semiconductor Industries, BSI, announced that it had received approval to make an initial investment of $5 million to rent a factory in the south of Vietnam. Ruda said he was sure other Dutch chip companies and suppliers would follow. ASML China export curbs came too late, Dutch PM frontrunner says. Bloomberg. Dylan Jesselgaz-Zagarius, the leading candidate in the Dutch elections, has said the Netherlands should have acted faster to limit the export of ASML's high-tech chip-making machines to China. The US has been working with the Netherlands and Japan since last year on restrictions to curb China's technological advancement and prevent it from gaining a military edge. The export bans on Dutch companies, which come into effect from January, were implemented at the behest of the US but have angered some Dutch lawmakers who see them as impinging on the Netherlands' sovereignty. Markets think interest rates could stay high for a decade or more. Economist. The global economy is facing the possibility of higher interest rates for an extended period of time, which will have far-reaching consequences. Households and companies will have to pay more to borrow, the financial system will have to adjust to a new reality, and governments will have to allocate more tax revenue to pay off accumulated debt. Smaller firms, which typically have debts that fall due sooner than larger companies, are already feeling the strain. Corporate bankruptcies are rising in both the US and Europe. If rates remain high, even long-dated debt will eventually become costly for companies, potentially inhibiting investment in the future. Households will also feel the impact of higher rates, particularly in the housing market. Mortgage rates have already increased significantly in the US, making monthly payments more burdensome for buyers. Falling house prices are likely to follow, as buyers will face higher borrowing costs. The financial sector is vulnerable to higher rates as well, as banks and other institutions own government bonds that lose value as rates rise. The value of office buildings has also declined, impacting commercial property loans. Additionally, the high debt levels of governments around the world make them susceptible to higher rates. Many governments continue to run excessive deficits, and belt-tightening measures would be needed to prevent debt to GDP ratios from increasing further. However, if higher rates are driven by optimism about economic growth, the consequences may not be as severe. Higher rates would be accompanied by higher real incomes for households, higher revenues for companies, and increased tax collection for governments. Competition for capital could also lead to increased dynamism in the economy. On the other hand, if high rates are a result of governments' large debt burdens, the world economy will have to cope with higher rates without any boost to growth. This could potentially lead to a fiscal crisis or a more restrictive fiscal policy. The world economy is defying gravity. That cannot last. Economist. The global economy is experiencing a period of growth and optimism, but there are concerns that this may be short-lived. The foundations of today's growth are considered to be unstable, with threats looming on the horizon. One major concern is the potential for higher interest rates to persist, which could lead to economic policies failing and hindered growth. As interest rates rise, consumers will have less disposable income, leading to decreased spending. This could have a ripple effect across the world economy, causing business bankruptcies, falling house prices, and increased financial strain on banks. Another concern is the sustainability of fiscal largesse, with countries such as the UK, France, Italy, and Japan running significant deficits. This high level of government debt combined with rising interest rates could lead to a clash between governments and central banks. The strain of higher interest rates on government budgets may force governments to tighten their belts, potentially causing economic pain. Overall, the higher-for-longer era may not be sustainable and could lead to economic weakness. Futures tread higher on bets of end to Fed's rate hikes. Reuters. Futures for Wall Street's main stock indexes rose following the Federal Reserve's decision to hold interest rates steady. While Chair Jerome Powell left the door open for further tightening, he also acknowledged the impact of a surge in bond yields on the economy. This was seen as dovish by the market, leading to a drop in Treasury yields and gains in mega-cap growth stocks. Positive corporate updates also boosted sentiment. Qualcomm rallies on sign smartphone market slump is easing. Reuters. Chipmaker Qualcomm has seen a 6% rise in its share price as its strong first-quarter forecasts indicate that the slump in the smartphone market is coming to an end. The company is among the largest designers of chips used in smartphones. After 4 quarters of decline in its smartphone business, Qualcomm is starting to see fresh orders coming in for its chips. Its revenue and profit projections for the final quarter of the year were both above Wall Street expectations, with the company predicting a 35% rise in sales to Chinese smartphone customers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Six from the Six Dimensions, coming to you with the latest news from around the world. The Dow soared over 560 points as investors placed their bets on the Federal Reserve ending its rate hikes. In other news, U.S. lawmakers are urging export controls on a new chip design technology to limit China's access. The UK government has awarded Bristol University a massive investment to create the country's most powerful supercomputer. And in the world of finance, the Granite Shares 1.5x long Nvidia Daily ETF has emerged as the best-performing ETF so far this year, thanks to the frenzy around artificial intelligence. Now, let's dive deeper into these stories. The stock market rally in the U.S. came after the Fed decided to keep interest rates unchanged, signaling that they may be done with rate hikes for now. This sparked optimism among investors, leading to a surge in stock prices. While the Fed's chair, Jerome Powell, expressed satisfaction with the downward movement of inflation, it's important to keep an eye on future developments as the market can be unpredictable. In another development, U.S. lawmakers are concerned about China's access to RISC-V technology, which could potentially enable them to develop their own semiconductor industry without oversight from Washington. The lawmakers are urging export controls on the technology to limit China's progress in this area. This move comes as the U.S. tightens controls on chip exports to stifle China's semiconductor industry. It's a battle for technological dominance that will continue to unfold in the coming months. On the technology front, Bristol University in the UK has been awarded a massive investment to create the country's most powerful supercomputer. Named Isambard AI, this machine will be used for scientific discovery in various fields, including robotics, big data, climate research, and drug discovery. It's exciting to see the advancements in artificial intelligence and the potential it holds for advancing scientific research. In the world of finance, the Granite Shares 1.5x long Nvidia daily ETF has caught the attention of investors as it has emerged as the top-performing ETF this year. This ETF tracks the daily percentage change of Nvidia, a chip maker at the forefront of artificial intelligence. The frenzy around AI has attracted buyers to this ETF, resulting in impressive gains. The world of finance can be quite fascinating, with new opportunities and trends emerging all the time. And finally, Dutch semiconductor companies are looking to reduce their reliance on China by making manufacturing investments in Vietnam. This comes as tensions between China and the West continue to rise. By diversifying their manufacturing locations, these Dutch firms aim to mitigate the risks associated with the trade tensions. It will be interesting to see how this shift in manufacturing hubs plays out and what impact it will have on the global supply chain. That's all for today's news roundup, folks. As always, I encourage you to share your thoughts and join the discussion. What are your views on the Fed's rate hikes, China's access to chip technology, and the developments in the world of supercomputers and ETFs? Let's hear your thoughts, and until next time, this is Dr. Six signing off from the Six Dimensions. Stay curious and keep exploring. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the Six Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of Six Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the Six Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize Six Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, sixdobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive Six Do Brief via email.